There's a moment every night just before the world goes silent, when the lights dim, the distractions fade, and the noise of the day finally stops. It's in that sacred pause that heaven leans in to listen. What you choose to do in that moment can shape not only your sleep, but your soul. Because night is not just a time for physical rest, it's a time for spiritual realignment. Too many people are falling asleep, carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, silent battles, anxious thoughts, unspoken pain. They lay in bed staring at the ceiling, their hearts full but their spirits empty. But God never meant for you to end your day in fear, in worry, or in unrest. He designed sleep to be a gift, a reset, a divine pause filled with peace. And the key to unlocking that peace, prayer. Not just any prayer, but a heartfelt, honest, soul-surrendering conversation with the one who never sleeps. Before you drift off, you have the chance to hand over everything. The fear you've been hiding, the questions you can't answer, the mistakes that keep playing in your mind like a broken record. In prayer, you exchange your anxiety for His assurance, your sorrow for His strength, your exhaustion for His eternal embrace. This isn't just a nightly routine, it's spiritual warfare. It's protection, it's restoration. When you pray before you sleep, you draw a line in the sand and declare, "This night belongs to God. My dreams are guarded, my rest is holy, my soul is secure." Even in the stillness, God is working. Even in the quiet, He is speaking. And when you invite Him in, your bedroom becomes a sanctuary, your pillow a place of peace, and your night a gateway to miracles. Don't close your eyes without first opening your heart. Don't end your day without surrendering to the one who carried you through it. Because that final moment of connection with God may be the very thing that transforms your tomorrow. So tonight, and every night, never sleep without praying this powerful prayer. Your rest depends on it. Your peace depends on it. Your purpose depends on it. Before you lay down to rest at night, something profoundly spiritual happens when you take a moment to pause and pray. It's not just a tradition or a bedtime ritual, it's a divine invitation. When you pray before you sleep, you're welcoming the presence of the Almighty God into your atmosphere, into your heart, and into your home. You're saying, "Lord, I don't want to end this day without you. I don't want to lay down my head without acknowledging the one who gave me breath today." That moment of prayer is not simply about asking for protection or saying thank you, though those are important. It's about realigning your soul. It's about declaring that no matter what the day held, victories or failures, joy or sorrow, God is still in control, and you choose to trust Him with your night. Nighttime is often when the mind is loudest. Thoughts that were pushed aside during the busyness of the day come rushing in. Worries, regrets, fears, and anxieties often surface in the quiet of the night. That's why prayer before sleep is so crucial. When you pray, you're not just talking to God, you're shifting the atmosphere. You're reminding the enemy that your spirit is not available for torment. You're letting the heavens know that you are under divine protection. You're choosing to sleep, not just in silence, but in security. Think about it, the night is vulnerable. You're unconscious, you're unaware. That's why the enemy loves to work in the night through nightmares, through mental unrest, through attacks on your peace. But when you invite God into your night through prayer, you are surrounding yourself with His covering. Psalm 4:8 says, "In peace I will lie down and sleep. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety." That verse is a promise, and it's activated by prayer. You can't afford to go to sleep without securing your soul. Prayer before bed is a spiritual transaction. It's where you hand over your thoughts, your stress, your burdens, and receive God's peace in return. It's where the weight of your day is exchanged for the rest only God can give. That simple moment of reverence where you bow your head and open your heart builds a spiritual hedge around you. It is a reminder to your spirit that you are not alone, not even in the dark, not even in your dreams. And here's the truth: when you invite God into your night, you're also inviting Him into your tomorrow. You're ending your day in His presence, which means you're also beginning the next one with His peace. Don't wait until morning to connect with Him. Don't wait until the alarm rings to ask for guidance. Start tonight. Start by praying before you sleep. No matter how long or short the prayer, no matter how tired or overwhelmed you feel, just start. Whisper His name, thank Him, ask for peace, surrender your worries, declare that you are under His shadow. That moment will change everything, not just your sleep, but your spirit. So, never sleep without praying. Never close your eyes without first opening your heart to the God who never slumbers. Because when you invite Him into your night, He prepares you for your purpose. Prayer before sleep is more than just a habit. It is a spiritual declaration. It's not something you do just to check a box or feel religiously satisfied. It's a bold and intentional act of faith where you claim spiritual authority over your night and over your life. When you choose to pray before you sleep, you are not simply whispering words into the air. You are speaking directly to the throne room of heaven. You are declaring that no matter what happened during the day, God is still sovereign, and you are still surrendered. That moment becomes a turning point. It marks the transition from the chaos of the day to the calm of God's presence. Prayer is not passive, it's powerful. When you speak out in prayer before bed, you're not just hoping for peace, you are declaring it. You're not just wishing for rest, you are commanding it in Jesus' name. You're letting the enemy know that your life is not open for attack. Your mind is not available for torment, and your soul is not vulnerable to fear. You are covered, you are protected, you are grounded in the presence of the Almighty. That's not a ritual, that's warfare. And it all happens when you pray with intentionality, not just as a habit, but as a declaration. Too often, people underestimate the spiritual weight of nighttime. The world slows down, the distractions fade, and it's in that stillness where the enemy tries to whisper lies. He brings up your failures, he amplifies your fears, he reminds you of your pain. But when you pray before sleep, you shut down every voice that isn't God's. You shift your focus from fear to faith. You reclaim your peace. You're not just saying words, you're taking a stand. When you pray, it's as if you are putting a flag in the ground and saying, "This territory, my mind, my home, my rest belongs to God." Every word becomes a weapon. Every verse of Scripture becomes a shield. Every surrender becomes a spiritual fortress. And here's the beauty of it. You don't need long, eloquent prayers. You don't have to say the perfect words. You just have to mean it. You just have to open your heart and speak from a place of honesty and humility. Prayer is your declaration that the day may be ending, but your trust in God is not. It's your way of saying, "Lord, I may be weak, but you are strong. I may not have the answers, but you hold tomorrow. I don't know what the future holds, but I rest in the one who holds me." That kind of prayer shakes the gates of hell and opens the windows of heaven. This is why you can't afford to sleep without praying. Because when you do, you're going to bed exposed, uncovered spiritually. But when you pray, even a simple prayer like, "God, protect me, speak to me, and give me peace," you're activating something in the spiritual realm. You're declaring that you're not trusting in yourself. You're trusting in God. You're declaring that fear doesn't rule you, faith does. You're declaring that even in rest, your spirit remains in communion with the Lord. So every time you lay down to sleep, don't let your last words be filled with anxiety, social media, or distraction. Let them be filled with power, with trust, with surrender. Let them be filled with prayer. Because that moment isn't routine, it's a divine declaration that shifts the night and prepares you for a victorious morning. Every night, before you close your eyes, you face a critical choice: to carry your burdens into your sleep or to lay them down at the feet of Jesus. What many don't realize is that sleep doesn't erase anxiety, guilt, or pain. It only buries it deeper. The weight of your worries won't disappear overnight unless you release them intentionally. That's why prayer before bed is so vital. It's not just a spiritual routine, it's an invitation to surrender. A divine exchange takes place in those few moments of prayer. You hand God the chaos in your mind, and He hands you His peace in return. So many people go to bed wrestling with thoughts they were never meant to fight alone. Thoughts like, what if I'm not enough? Or what if I fail again tomorrow? They toss and turn, hoping that exhaustion will overpower anxiety. But God never meant for your bed to be a battlefield. He meant for it to be a place of rest, a place of peace. And peace is not the absence of problems, it's the presence of God. That presence is activated when you open your mouth and say, Lord, I can't carry this anymore. I give it to you. When you release your burdens in prayer, something miraculous happens. The grip that fear had on your mind begins to loosen. The shame that weighed down your heart begins to lift. The stress that has been silently stealing your strength begins to break, because you're no longer relying on your own strength to make it through the night. You're leaning into God's strength. His word says in Matthew 11:28, "Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." That's not just poetic language. That's a promise, but it requires a response. You have to come to Him. You have to lay it down. The truth is, what you take with you into sleep will shape your rest. If you go to bed with bitterness, you'll wake up drained. If you carry unforgiveness, it will eat away at your peace. But if you let those things go in prayer, if you forgive, if you let God have the final word over your emotions, then your sleep becomes more than physical rest. It becomes healing. You start to dream again. You start to wake up with clarity. You start to live lighter. And don't believe the lie that your problems are too small to bring to God. He cares about every detail of your life. The things that cause you to worry matter to Him. That knot in your stomach, that overthinking, that tension in your chest, God sees it all. And He's saying, give it to me. Not because He's trying to take control away from you, but because He wants to set you free. There is power in releasing what you were never meant to carry. There is power in saying, Lord, I surrender. I don't have all the answers, but I trust that you do. And that kind of prayer doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. It just has to come from a heart that's willing to let go. So tonight, before you close your eyes, pause, breathe and pray. Give God every fear, every mistake, every anxious thought. Say, God, I release it. I let it go. I put it in your hands. And as you do, watch how the peace of God settles over your soul like a warm blanket. You'll sleep not in fear, not in stress, but in the rest that only comes from complete surrender. Real rest doesn't come from the number of hours you sleep. It doesn't come from the softness of your pillow or the quietness of your room. True rest, the kind that restores your soul and refreshes your spirit, only comes through surrender. You can sleep for 10 hours and still wake up exhausted if your heart is burdened. You can lay down in silence and still feel chaos if your mind is spinning with fear and unresolved emotions. That's why prayer before sleep isn't optional for the believer. It's essential because rest isn't just about physical sleep, it's about spiritual peace. And peace can only be found in the presence of God. Too often we crawl into bed thinking that rest will come naturally, that the day will somehow shut off like a switch. But the soul doesn't work that way. The soul needs to be led to peace, and the way we lead it there is through surrender. Every time you pray before sleep, you're giving God permission to step into your space, calm your heart, and carry what you were never meant to bear. It's not weakness to surrender, it's wisdom, because God is the only one strong enough to handle what's been wearing you down. Surrender is not about giving up, it's about handing over. It's saying, God, I don't need to control this anymore. I trust you with it. That includes your worries about tomorrow, your regrets from today, your fears that linger even after the day is done. When you try to hold onto those things, they don't go away, they grow. But when you release them to God, you make room for His peace to fill the empty spaces. The world teaches us to push through, to stay strong, to manage everything on our own. But Jesus invites us to lay our burdens down. He says in John 14:27, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Not as the world gives do I give to you. Let not your hearts be troubled, neither let them be afraid." That kind of peace doesn't come from ignoring your problems. It comes from surrendering them. And surrender happens in prayer. It's in those final moments of your day as you prepare for sleep that God desires to meet with you. He doesn't want your performance. He wants your presence. He's not waiting for a perfect prayer. He's waiting for an honest one. He's listening for the whisper that says, "Lord, I can't do this without you." That whisper of surrender reaches heaven louder than any shout. And in response, He sends His peace, not a peace that just numbs your anxiety, but a peace that transforms your heart. When you truly surrender before bed, something shifts. You go from unrest to rest, from worry to worship. Your sleep becomes an act of trust. You're no longer trying to solve tomorrow's problems tonight. You're no longer holding on to today's pain. You're laying it all at the feet of the one who never sleeps, the one who guards your soul through the night. And here's the beauty of it. When you surrender before sleep, you don't just wake up rested. You wake up renewed. Your heart is lighter. Your mind is clearer. Your spirit is stronger because you didn't just sleep. You trusted. You didn't just close your eyes, you opened your heart. So tonight, don't just fall asleep. Surrender. Whisper a prayer. Let go of the weight. And rest in the arms of the one who holds the whole world, including you, in His hands. That's where true rest begins. Before sleep, something sacred happens when you take time to pray. It's not just a moment of quiet reflection or a spiritual routine. It's a moment of realignment. As the day ends and the noise around you fades, your heart becomes more aware of what's happening within. And that is when you have a divine opportunity to reconnect with God, to realign your heart with His will. The entire day may have pulled you in different directions: worry, distraction, frustration, or even pride. But in the quiet of the night, through prayer, you can bring it all back to center. You can bring it all back to Him. Throughout the day, we get pulled off course sometimes in ways we don't even notice. A quick word spoken in anger, a moment of jealousy, a decision driven by fear, or hours spent distracted and spiritually disconnected. These little moments create distance between us and God, not because He leaves us, but because we drift. And before we close our eyes at night, we must take the time to come back, to say, "Lord, search me, show me where I've missed the mark, make me more like you." That kind of prayer is more than confession, it's transformation. It's the kind of heart posture God honors. Prayer at night is not just about asking for rest. It's about making sure your heart is in the right place before the next day begins. It's a spiritual alignment check. Just like a vehicle needs to be aligned so it doesn't drift off the road, our souls need realignment so we stay on the path of righteousness. And this realignment doesn't happen through willpower. It happens through surrender. It happens when you open your heart and ask God to remove what's not from Him and restore what is. Psalm 139, 23-24 says, "Search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there is any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting." This should be the cry of our hearts before we sleep, not from a place of fear, but from a place of love. Because when you truly love God, you want to walk in step with Him. You want your life to reflect His nature. And the only way to do that is to allow Him to examine your heart daily, gently correcting you and shaping you into the image of Christ. This kind of alignment doesn't just affect your spiritual life, it affects your relationships, your decisions, your peace. When your heart is aligned with God's, you forgive quicker, you speak kinder, you worry less, you walk in purpose. And all of that can begin with a simple, quiet prayer before bed. A moment where you say, "God, not my will, but yours. Shape me, mold me, use me." And here's the beautiful part. God doesn't expect perfection. He desires connection. He's not looking for performance. He's looking for partnership. When you pray at night and invite Him to correct and guide you, you're giving Him permission to be the shepherd of your soul. You're saying, "Lead me, speak to me, change me." And He will. He always does. So don't let the day end without checking in with the one who knows you best. Before you sleep, take a moment to realign, not because God demands it, but because your soul needs it. Let your final words be a surrender that says, "Lord, I want to walk with you." That kind of prayer doesn't just prepare you for sleep, it prepares you for purpose. It sets your heart on a path of peace and direction that no alarm clock can offer. Let alignment through prayer be your nightly reset, and you'll wake up not only rested but ready. When you take time to pray before bed, you're doing more than closing out your day. You're building strength for the day ahead. Prayer is not just about rest. It's about preparation. It's not simply the soft end to a long day. It's a powerful beginning to your next season. Most people view prayer before sleep as something passive or quiet. But in the spiritual realm, it's one of the most powerful things you can do. It's where battles are fought, chains are broken, and strength is renewed. What you do in those last few moments before sleep sets the tone for how you will rise. Every day you walk through life, you face battles. Some are external stress, pressure, opposition, but many are internal fear, doubt, temptation, anxiety. These things slowly drain your spiritual energy. You may not even realize how tired your soul becomes as you go through life, constantly fighting unseen battles. That's why nighttime prayer is so essential. It recharges your spirit. When you pray, you invite the power of God to enter your rest and rebuild what was depleted during the day. You are not just signing off for the night, you're plugging into the true source of power. Scripture makes it clear that strength is not just physical, it's spiritual. Isaiah 40:31 says, "But those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles." That kind of strength doesn't come from a nap, it comes from God. And waiting on the Lord often happens in prayer. When you choose to end your day with prayer, you're telling God, "I need you more than sleep. I need your presence more than comfort. I need your strength to carry me into what's next." That posture of dependency is what unlocks supernatural endurance. And let's be honest, some battles don't show up until the night. The enemy often waits for the quiet moments to launch his attacks. That's when insecurities grow louder, when regret creeps in, when fear takes hold. But prayer shuts those voices down. It is your defense system. It's how you guard your heart and mind. The world sleeps, but your spirit stands watch. And through prayer, you remind every demon in hell that you are not alone, that you are not weak, and that you are not afraid. You may be lying down physically, but spiritually you're standing strong. Prayer before bed also gives you access to divine insight and spiritual clarity. While your body rests, God can speak through dreams, reveal direction, and deposit peace deep into your soul. You wake up not just physically restored, but spiritually alert. Many of the greatest decisions, breakthroughs, and shifts in your life can be rooted in prayers you whisper before sleep. That moment of connection becomes the foundation for wisdom, creativity, and confidence. It's easy to think that the day's strength comes from the morning, but spiritually, it begins the night before. When you choose to armor your soul in prayer, you go into the next day already covered. You've already received peace. You've already surrendered your battles. You've already declared victory, even before the sun rises. That's what gives you a head start, not coffee, not motivation, but a heart anchored in God through prayer. So never underestimate the power of a bedtime prayer. It's not weak, it's not small, and it's not a last-minute thought. It's your spiritual strategy. It's how you win while you rest. It's how you sleep in peace and wake up in power. Because when your night ends in prayer, your next day begins in victory.